All right, what is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. I thought it'd be kind of fun to take a little trip down memory lane as promised and show you guys all of the websites that I've done over the last 2 to 3 years. I just think it'd be cool to just check them out, show you guys kind of my design skills, because for the most part, a lot of these projects aren't showcased really anywhere. I have it on my LinkedIn profile, the positions, that I was in, etc. But yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to bundle these all into one pretty video. So maybe you're just viewing for fun. Maybe you just saw something about web design and you just clicked on it. Maybe you're a potential employer. You're looking to see, okay, how good is this guy? We're going to be diving into it. I do need to make a couple of disclaimers actually before we get into it. So the first disclaimer is essentially that about, 75, 80% of the designs that I'm going to show you were done while I was under contract with another marketing agency. And the reason I say that is because if you go and fact check me and go to any of these sites that we're going to look at, you'll see at the very bottom of the site that it doesn't have, my business name, my current business name on it or anything like that. You wouldn't know at all that it's associated with me. And also all the sites that I'm going to show you, well, most of the ones that I'm going to show you, they still have this similar whole feel and design that I've designed. Most of these look almost identical to when I completed them. The other thing is that while most of these sites, do look pretty aesthetically pleasing, I just want to defend my own design skills by saying, like I said, about 2 years ago, and my design work and how I do sites has evolved, has changed. A lot of these sites don't necessarily have a lot of bells and whistles or cool motion effects, animations, moving things like that. Just very simple, very baseline. These were professionals that didn't have a website at all to start, and they just needed something to promote themselves and to host their business on the internet. Finally, for a lot of these websites, or for these clients, I did more than just their website. I actually did their logo, their website, and their social media marketing for a handful of them. And so as we go through these, I'll try to make it as clear as I can which ones I did what for. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm excited. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and hop into my designs. But real fast before we do, I think it's important that we just glance at my current resume, and we will see that I have been working for myself for the past 1.5 years. And then this agency was the one previously that about 75% of the web designs came from. Okay. And I will drop all the links to these sites in the video description so you guys can check them out yourself. Let's jump into Sailor Stride. Caro, she was a pleasure to work with. She is a dog trainer and walker in Charleston. And yeah, this site came together quite nicely. I was pretty happy with the way that this turned out. And I did do the logo as well, but I did not do the entire logo. I just did the outside here. Someone else actually did the inside dog picture there. But this is Sailor Stride, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the next one. All right, Diversified Designs. So this one also turned out nice, and he is actually a family friend out here on Tybee Island. He is a career architect, and I want to say he had a website before, but it was not as cool looking as this, and it didn't feature a lot of his work that this one does. See, this actually kind of serves primarily as his portfolio for a lot of his projects, which is pretty good stuff. Okay, next, Shannon with Main Street Adventures. Now this site is unique actually, and I want to be fully transparent that this is the one and only site that I have ever actually paid another freelancer to do for me under my agency. And doing that by itself was an experience. I would say overall it turned out really good versus what she had. She had a website that she was running and managing on her own, but it was not nearly as built out as this one was. Yeah, if you guys are looking for a personal travel guide, definitely contact Shannon. She can help build the vacation of your dreams. All right, Savannah Kiwanis Club. Here we go. So this is a fun one. Hey, there's my mom and dad. So this one turned out nice. I'm actually a member of the Kiwanis Club here in Savannah and got recruited primarily to help out with their social media stuff. But this events page is pretty important because we try to keep this updated with the club events. So I'm in here updating this pretty regularly. And again, the Savannah Kiwanis Club actually didn't have a website at all, but existed for years. And I came in, I should say my dad. So my dad was actually the president. Anyways, that is a little bit of that. And we are jumping into my very first client websites at Silverleaf, actually, as a designer with them. And we were looking at Ebbtide. Did not do the logo, did the website. And it turned out pretty nice. Almost all of the websites going forward were done while I was a web designer at an agency. And all of these websites were for business owners who essentially didn't have anything at all getting started. And then now they have a way to host and showcase their business or their services or their expertise. Mental health is wealth. Did not do the logo, did the website. This one was fun because it was my very first pink themed website. And I gotta say, this is actually one of my favorites. I'll be honest with you, just because I think I did a nice job contrasting the pink without it being too overwhelming. There is a lot of pink up here. I'll give you that. And I don't know how many men are contacting her and saying, yes, this is what I've been looking for. Maybe it is. Nothing wrong with pink, obviously. But a little bit more feminine, if you know what I mean. TP Innovation Psychiatry. This one was cool. A little unique, actually. Is the only site he wanted me to put this like entrance page on here, which is a little different. But we click that and we come in. And so, a lot of these providers, they came in. Some of them gave me more creative direction than others, right? So this was a good example of a client who did not give me that much creative direction, but he was based in, I think, the San Antonio, Texas area. And so he kind of gave it that kind of modern vibe. This is actually the Riverwalk and San Antonio. Just incorporated some of those pictures from Texas, right? Not do the logo, but did the website, and we are going to move right along. Jackie's Mental Health Management Services did the logo and the website. Also, probably a good time to mention that these sites were done, like I mentioned, 2 years ago. So I would have done probably most of these differently now. And I think some of them are getting a little bit dated, if you know what I mean. A lot of them were done and delivered in roughly 4 to 7 days, right? There wasn't like a ton of back and forth between me and the client. You know what I mean? It was, more or less like they come in with a logo, kind of give me a direction on which way they want to go, and then boom, boom, boom. Now, when you work with me individually, like some of these sites over here, I definitely took my time a little bit more, but it's just the nature of what was going on. Moonstone Psychiatric Services. This one was fun because the theme came together incredibly simply. And it's funny how a single image can kind of do that for you. Because, here we have Moonstone Psychiatric Services. And I'm thinking, okay, what do we want to do? And something about this little image of those stones up there kind of does it. You know what I mean? Like you read Moonstone, you see these little rocks, and it just kind of fits. I'm not saying it's perfect, not saying you couldn't do something different. You definitely could, but it was one of these things where, I found that image pretty quickly, plugged it in, and she loved it pretty much immediately. And so that's always a fun feeling. That's a nice image there. And so yeah, Moonstone Psychiatric Services, ANK Behavioral Health, Alyssa Killian. These are actually her initials, and again, pretty basic website. Did some graphics up here for her. I think she's got, I thought she had some images in there. Yeah, meet your providers, services. Looks like we did one big hover button for all of this. Okay, moving right along. We're about halfway done. Inner Balance Mental Health. Did not do the logo, did the website. Overall, just a nice calming feel on this one. It's always nice when you can find some good icons to match whatever you're doing. Really adds to everything. Quote, contact page, business information, map, frequently asked questions, and call to action. Very basic footer menus on almost all of these. And that's all the time I'm going to spend on Inner Balance Mental Health. Okay, BrainWorx Incorporated. So this one was cool. Did the logo, did the website. And a couple of funny things about this one is that overall it came together cool, but something that caught my eye when I was preparing for this video is I noticed this. You see this in the background? It's kind of funny that I did that. But I think it's like a brain scan. You see the image of the brain scan? I was looking at this and I was like, what image is that? What did I put? But it creates that kind of 3D feel, if you will. Again, not saying I would do it the exact same. Probably wouldn't. I'm just showing you what was once done by myself. And I mean, really, I'll be honest, like my entire portfolio, I'll be honest, it's an amateur's portfolio. And I say that because, you know, when I stepped into the role, I didn't consider myself like a web designer. I had built about 2 websites and I had been through, you know, marketing school and had a very, very good understanding of SEO. But as far as like starting and designing websites from scratch, it was a little daunting at first, right? But as I did each one and as I saw how much the clients enjoyed both the product, you know, and their experience working with me, my confidence grew. But yeah, this is cool. I like this one. So Dynamic Healthcare Solutions. This was one of the first ones I did with like him, you know, like this. I haven't done that on a lot of them since, but I really like the way his site actually came together. It was also one of the first sites, because, you know, as you go through and you do stuff, you're like, okay, I want to try to do this, or, you know, I want to incorporate this element that I've never used before, or something like that. And this was the first one that I did this top banner on. You know what I mean? Like if you go back, you can see almost everything else. We have this menu that's set in to the header a little bit, like down where you're pretty much used to seeing it. But I was like, I want to put the header at the very top. And so anyways, that's what we did. Moving right along. Oh yes. Okay. This is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it straight out of the box. One of my favorites. Not like it's like an amazing website. It's a cool website. Really, the 2 things that I like about it are the color palette and the logo. So yes, I did the logo, did the website, and this is hands down one of the most complicated logos that I've ever done, but one of the most satisfying that I've ever done, because I was really just like testing and trying new things, and it came together really cool. But yeah, I'm not going to dive too much into the weeds on the logo or anything like that, but Ryan was a pleasure to work with, and overall kind of a fun website with this color palette. All right, making good time. Hopefully we're going to go ahead and jump into another nicely done one. Thrive Psychiatry. So I did the logo on this one, did the website, and it looks nice. The green right here looks a little bit bright. It's something I'd probably do differently. Very straightforward. Not a lot of images on this one. Some providers wanted more or less images, so let's move along. Nomadic Behavioral Health. Did the logo, did the website. And she kind of wanted an ocean underwater theme. And the one comment that I just have to make on this one is that you can see all of these headers are offset, and that's because she didn't want them blocking the image. Like, I think I had this centered and like a lot bigger, but I think she wanted this part to be more visible. So anyways, a lot of like personal preference stuff with a website. Like, there's no such thing as a perfectly optimized website. There is good design, there is good user experience, there is a way that things should sort of be laid out, but there is a lot of room for personal preference and leeway. Okay, Sage Mental Health. This turned out nice. The only thing right now is I don't think I had this as brown. I don't think I had that as brown. Overall, yeah, Sage Mental Health. We are getting towards the end, my friends. Sitas Mental Health Services. Did the logo, did the website. Maryland's Home for Compassionate Mental Health Care by Rosemary Okapolor. So again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, or I think I mentioned the fact that I didn't really consider myself a web designer, but I also haven't had any official website design schooling. You know what I mean? Like I didn't necessarily study design or user experience or user interface in school. I think we had a section on that in, digital marketing school, right? But I say that kind of just to say that anyone can be a designer. I mean, I don't have any official website design training at all. And I've helped launch, over 20 business websites that are still live today, right? We're looking at them. Okay, so Autumn Health and Wellness did the logo, did the website, and I'm actually happy to see that this website is really similar to the way that I left it. It is different in a lot of ways. Yeah, like a lot of this page content seems to be different, but the logo, the overall look and feel is pretty similar. All right, Ameliore Health. Did the logo, did the website. And overall, very simple site, to be honest with you. Moving along, AZ Holistic Anxiety Treatments by Jamie Gustafsson. This was one of my favorite sites upon launch. However, this one has actually been modified, I think, more than any other site that I've shown you. This header has been changed. This text and everything here has been changed. This has been changed. This has been changed. I didn't do any of this. See the feel and look of this down here? That's what the entire top looked like, and it looked really good with the all black, but Jamie's one of those that kind of likes to play around, and so I know that's what she's been doing. Kudos to her. Nothing wrong with it. I remember actually putting this page up because she wanted to start offering specifically like women's psychiatry. But she's in Arizona, and so initially we were wanting to incorporate this kind of Arizona look and feel. It looks like she's actually removed a good portion of those images. She's kind of like Arizonating it. Yeah, because I had more like nature images in here. Again, totally cool. Totally up to her website. We are on the final two, my friends. Here we go. Inner Balance Mental Health did not do the logo, did do the website.
What do you think of that?
And it turned out nice. It's a good example of actually a one-page website. You see I click here and it bounces there. If I were redoing this today, I'd probably add a little scroll animation to make it a little more smooth. But we have it just jumping down there, nothing wrong with it. Because usually when a client starts a project, I'll ask them, okay, are you thinking you would like a one-page website or a multi-page website? 90% of these are like multi-page websites, meaning, it's got the domain up here, followed by, that page. And so oftentimes I'll tell people, whoa, that doesn't look very good. I didn't leave that like that. Okay. Anyways, a lot of the times I'll ask people, do you want a multi-page site or a single site page? And usually you can fit most of what you want on a single page site. You just have to understand that you're only going to have that one URL. It's just this URL. that has the possibility of appearing in the search engines or on Google, right? Versus if you have a multi-page site, you have the homepage, which is the regular URL. Then you have this one. And then you have this unique page. So this has 5 pages. This has 1. Not to say one is better than the other in terms of design or content or anything like that. However, there's no denying the fact that this one has 5 different opportunities to show up for different keywords or, you know, just different search queries that people might be searching for. And so, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And a good time to wrap up. So we are on our final design, did the logo, did the website, Alpha Health and Wellness. And I like this one because it's a very nice, how do you say, alpha feminine energy, if you will. Stephanie was a pleasure to work with, and she has, a unique color palette that we came up with. I remember going through different iterations of it. We tested a few different color palettes and ultimately kind of landed on this. All right, my friends, we have made it to the end of this video. I cannot thank you enough if you stuck around to check it out. I went on a journey to actually put this out because I ended up making that whole screen recording you just saw 3 different times. And this third final time is hopefully what you're actually watching. First time, the screen recording didn't save. I was using a new tool. Second time, microphone wasn't turned on, so you couldn't hear anything I was saying. Third time's the charm, baby. So hopefully you captured all of that. Yeah, thanks again for checking it out. I don't do as many logos these days, but it's always something that I'm more than happy to do for somebody. So that is all I've got. If you need a website for your business, I'd love to help you out. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video.